Israeli forces continue to step up their assault on Gaza. Overnight, this dramatic footage was shared by the IDF of a mortar failing before making contact with a rocket launcher, which exploded into a huge ball of fire and sent debris flying.
Well, it comes after troops staged limited raids on the ground in Gaza as soldiers continue to gather at the border ahead of a full ground offensive. Well, joining us now is Sean Bell, military analyst and former Air Vice Marshal for the RAF. Sean, good morning. What's your analysis of Israel's strategy so far?
Good morning, Nicola. Good morning, Jeremy. Well, the trouble is you see this through a military lens, and unfortunately there's a lot more to it than just the military lens. Every day that goes by, you'd expect Israel would want to go across the border. It's been doing an extensive bombing campaign to try to root out Hamas, but you won't be able to completely destroy Hamas from the air. The challenge, of course, is that we've been waiting for this ground invasion for a couple of weeks now since those dreadful events on the 7th of October. And we have to assume, actually, there's probably two reasons why it's been delayed, one of which is political. We've seen Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin doing a round of diplomacy, buying time for the Palestinians to move away from the area. But probably most important is that Israel is on the brink of a massive conflict if it goes into Gaza. And it's only recently, mobilized over 350,000 people, getting the training sorted, the logistics sorted, everything ready for that fateful day. Almost certainly took them a bit of time. But I think we have to say, if they do go in on the ground, it's going to be an extremely long, very painful, very costly process. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if the IDF that they don't actually do a ground offensive after all, but that's to be seen.
Sean, I want to ask you from a military point of view, and good to have you on again, my friend. Sunak was saying that he agreed with the Americans yesterday about the bomb. The rocket that landed came from within Gaza, and there was we talked about it, there was this sort of, misinformation at the beginning to hospital, it's Israeli. How does that happen seemingly so often in warfare?
Well, unfortunately, the truth is obviously one of the major casualties in war, and I've seen quite a lot of the evidence of that fateful day, and it's pretty clear where the rocket came from, the damage that was caused, etc., that wasn't a missile. But of course, once the first line of the narrative is out there in the media, and even we've got more moderate countries like Jordan turning around and saying, nobody's going to believe the Western narrative unless it's proven. I think one of the difficulties of all of this conflict is it's being played out in the media. And I think that's part of what we're seeing with the hostage situation. 2 Americans released a couple of days ago, now overnight, another 2 released. And all of this is designed to play out into the international media, to put pressure on Israel not to mount its ground offensive and to start to negotiate. And I think we're going to see a lot of atrocities like this that are going to be attributed to one side when it'll take quite some time to work out who actually was responsible on the day.
Sean, if Israel are pursuing these air attacks in preparation for a ground offensive, we understand so that is to eliminate as many members of Hamas as possible. But at the same time, it is members of Hamas who are holding those Israeli hostages near to them. So how on earth are they distinguishing? What kind of intelligence would they be using, in your opinion, in order to distinguish between where Hamas are operating with or without hostages?
Nicola, that's a great question. And the harsh reality of this is that the Israeli Defense Forces, Prime Minister Netanyahu, will not wish to be dictated to by Hamas. And whilst there is no doubt that the public rhetoric is very supportive of doing everything possible to getting those folks back, the harsh reality of it is that is probably not their first priority. Their first priority is to wipe out Hamas, because if they stopped and simply reacted to the hostage situation, then in some respects, the IDF would consider that Hamas has won. But going to your specifics, the air campaign is clearly designed. Over many decades, the Israeli Defense Force will have identified a master target list of potential targets where Hamas have operated. And systematically, they seem to be going through that target list at the moment. But if you actually are going to mount a ground offensive, especially when you talk about Hamas having hundreds of kilometers potentially of tunnels where some of these hostages may have been kept, incredibly dangerous, incredibly difficult operation. And let's be absolutely clear, there is no military solution to the problems in Gaza, in Israel, It has to be a political solution. At the moment, it's been, in my view, it's not been on the radar of some of the senior political figures for some years.
Sean,
as a result, this violence has blown up again.
Sean,
but there isn't a military solution to it.
I have to jump in. Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll have you on again. Sean Bell, thank you very, very much indeed.